Do we need to do an introduction or anything?
Well, so we're going to watch the movie first, and then we're going to do a recording of the podcast after. Discussing it, basically.
No, this is just us suffering for now.
Yeah, we have to suffer first.
And let me get this straight. You guys
Is there a
do
film?
an audio podcast for a video medium.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Rough Cuts is basically just an antiviral for
Yeah.
actual dog movies.
Yes.
Exactly.
Just a little bit of the virus, and then you'll be protected.
Yeah, we're the vaccine. You have to put
Yeah,
a
you're the
little bit of
vaccine.
the dead virus into the actual vaccine to prevent against it.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. This is Boix. That's Ilion. We have our good friend Nick Phil here on the podcast. How's it going, Nick?
It's going well.
Really? Because we just watched Monster Dog, and I think you're fucking lying.
Yeah, but like,
How much measurably worse is your day now?
well, we watched Monster Dog, and that was awful. But
Yeah.
after that, I got to walk away from Monster Dog, and then my day got noticeably better. And I got a nice cup of coffee. Yeah, it's like the worst of the day is over.
It's kind of like Saw. Once you're out the other side of it, your whole
Right.
life has changed.
Yeah.
You're instantly reformed. You've
You know-
changed everything.
You know, Saw, the movie that contains Mike Butters, the guy from the Pepsi Man cutscenes. Everybody loves Saw.
Which
Everybody
is
loves
great
Saw.
because Monster Dog contains a lot of Pepsi.
It
Ooh, it does.
And Pepsi affiliated products.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh man, they were so refreshing in that.
So before we go into the movie itself, let's talk a little bit about what Monster Dog is, because I feel like that's important to the actual experience of watching Monster Dog.
Sure.
Yes.
So Monster Dog is an Italian film from the mid-'80s that stars Alice Cooper as a rock star. I don't know how the fuck he's going to pull that off. And then...
I just want
Yeah.
to make a statement here. It doesn't really star Alice Cooper. Like, Alice Cooper's in it, but his voice is not in it.
That's true.
It's Alice Cooper is in it in the same way that oh god, what's that guy's name who plays Darth Vader? Shit, I can't remember his
Yeah.
name.
Edward
That
James
guy's
Olmos.
name.
Oh, wait,
Don't
no,
help
that's
him.
not it.
God, I was like, I almost. You want to know the bad thing? I stopped myself. I almost said David Carradine, and that is not correct. It's
Oh,
David
man,
something.
That's a Star Wars I would watch.
That's the star I would love to watch. David Carradine as fucking Darth Vader.
Yeah, it was David Spade as Darth Vader. Dude, it's James Earl Jones. Come on, man. Jesus Christ.
It is. What's his?
James Earl Jones.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not James Earl Jones. The guy.
Then
that
who are
is
you
the
talking
body
about?
The guy that plays the physical side of him.
We are not cutting
Oh,
this out
I
of the
don't
podcast.
know. Oh, my God.
That's what I was saying. Is that it's basically like that guy who was the Scottish guy. Have you ever heard him
Okay,
actually
whoa,
voice
whoa, whoa.
it? The original
Okay.
voice of Darth Vader. It's incredibly awful. It's amazing.
Did you guys invite me onto a podcast that is
David
unlistenable? Like, that is just auditory garbage?
Yes.
Yes.
Just like Monster Dog. So,
yeah.
Monster
It was
Dog.
David Prowse. It was David Prowse. There.
Okay, so Monster Dog is an Italian film. The reason that's important, and why we're talking about the dub, is if you are unaware, in the 70s and 80s, there were a ton of Italian films that were released where every actor in the film speaks in their native language, and then the film gets dubbed over for wherever it's being released. So, for instance, they could all be speaking Italian, one person speaking Spanish, another person speaking English, and then as it gets released into the US audience, the entire film gets redubbed in English. So none of the mouth movement talk, like, matches at all what's happening. They just kind of, like, try to fit in the dialogue.
It's weird, too, because, like, Alice Cooper, even though he speaks English, and is probably speaking English through the film, also didn't quite match up right.
No. I think they
No.
redubbed over what he was saying to try and match the written script better, but they shouldn't have dubbed over his voice at all. So that's weird.
It's very
But-
strange.
But it's very common in Italian films in that era. That's where
Sure.
the term spaghetti western came from. Because the Italian western genre is all, Italian movies dubbed over. Or kung fu movies. There's a ton of kung fu movies like that in the 70s and 80s that are all dubbed over really poorly.
I'm familiar with watching these as a kid from kung fu movies and Godzilla movies.
Oh yeah, it's in Godzilla ones too, for sure. Oh shit, music video. We in there. They gotta use Alice Cooper's voice before they dub over it.
I really hope they dub over his voice. Holy shit. I need it so bad. I need it to not be his voice.
Well, this was in the trailer.
Christ.
This is the trailer.
What the fuck? What is... Why do they keep flashing to his...
I don't know if this is how you want to start your movie. I don't know. So that is what we're dealing with when we're watching Monster Dog. We're dealing with Alice Cooper, his 2 music videos that are used like 4 times, which is his real voice, and then just a sharp cut to some, I'm Alice Cooper, in a fucking sweater vest. Yeah.
So what do you say, Vince? Not bad, huh?
Ooh, technology.
Not bad. It stinks.
Oh god.
The next one we do has got to have more punch.
To be fair, that like hard turn kind of prepped us for the other hard turns this movie takes.
Yes.
So I want to mention, because of the redubbing thing, I had a little bit of a theory about that, because we constantly made fun of how Alice Cooper just did 0 emoting at all in any scene.
Yep.
It might make sense when you don't understand what the fuck anybody else is saying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah!
That's
Like,
fair.
think about trying to act when everybody else is speaking in a different language. Like,
Yeah.
and you're just getting fed your lines, and it's like, okay, now you say this. And it's like, when do I say it? It's like when they say this word that you don't know. Okay, cool.
Yeah, okay.
I guess I'll do that. Like, how the fuck do you act against that? I actually kind of feel for Alice Cooper on this one now. I came back around to it. I was like, wait a minute. That'd be real damn hard if you don't understand what anybody else is fucking saying, because he doesn't speak Italian. There's no way Alice Cooper understood them.
You would think, though, as like an artist, he would be like, okay, I'm going to really dial in. I'm going to like learn the lines. I'm going to learn everyone else's lines so that I can properly know what's going on. But instead, he's just like, oh, this is difficult. I'll just stand here and feed lines out my mouth hole. It's fine.
Alice Cooper didn't join this movie for the artistry. He joined it for a
Yeah.
paycheck. Let's
Right.
be fair.
Yeah.
Let's be fair. And I mean, yeah, all right.
There were artists in this movie, though. We talked about how good the shots are. Some of those shots are really, really great.
That's true. There's some real actual cinematography in this film. There's like scenes of them moving around a spooky mansion where you're looking through the grate on one side of the second floor as they're walking on the other side. That looks like it's right out of Resident Evil. Like, it could be spooky. It looks great.
It's a lot of atmospheric shots. Like, anytime somebody's talking, they don't know how to shoot it. But
It's like a
anytime
music
somebody's
video.
just like, yeah, anytime somebody's just walking around, they nail it.
Which led to another theory that we had, which is that Alice Cooper lent them some people, or like had connections with people that had done some of his music videos.
He had to
and
have.
that's why this
Yeah.
actually looks kind of okay. Because for people that don't know as well, another important thing about this movie, for some background information, is that this is the director who would later on direct legendary Troll 2.
Yep.
So we are dealing with some unique talent here.
And
as
this
it were.
movie came out the same year as Troll.
As the original Troll. Yeah, it's like an omen.
It is, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's like a dark fate for this director.
Speaking of omens, the movie kicks off with like Alice Cooper, the teens in the van with him. He's well in his 40s and he's surrounded by teenagers. And they pull up to a couple of cops, and the cops give them a death omen, and then they pull up to a bloody old man, and the bloody old man gives them a death omen, and in between they kill a dog with a rock, and that's how the movie starts. And they're like, this is gonna be fine. It's fine.
They kill a dog with a rock. They see
After
a
hitting it
werewolf
with
in
the
the
car,
woods.
right?
After hitting it
Right.
with the car, they kill the dog with a rock to like put it out of its misery, and then they see a werewolf in the woods, and then they continue driving, go into the house, and just sit down and eat sandwiches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Wait a second. So the movie technically starts with the the caretaker
music
of
video?
the house. There's a music video,
Yeah.
which is
Yes.
also the trailer, which is also the end credits, and that music video happens.
Okay.
Then
I want to make one point about the music video.
yeah,
Is that the first line of the music video is "Sometimes I'm James Bond." So Monster Dog thought the first thing they were gonna kick their movie off with a line that reminds them of another
better
franchise of a better movie. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and then they went to Sherlock Holmes, so they named a bunch of things that are better than
Yeah,
Monster
they were
Dog
like,
in it.
here's a lot of alternatives to the movie you're about to watch.
that's like when you're watching a movie and there's a movie poster in like a kid's room that's of a way better movie. You're like, oh
Yeah,
shit, I'd
yeah,
rather be watching
exactly.
that. Yeah, you don't do that.
I'm revising my theory too, actually, a little bit, because I watching that music video. There was no cinematography in that. There's no way that Alice Cooper's friend, music video people helped out with this movie, because that music video looks like fucking ass. That music video is awful.
What I was getting to, though, is that the caretaker in the mansion is making sandwiches, which look like just bread with, like, cheese in the middle of it, and then cutting off all of the crust, placing them all on a platter, putting them in the fridge very, very, like, slowly, because this whole thing goes on for, like, 3 minutes.
And it's not like 4 sandwiches. He makes like 50.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tray. Yeah.
And then he walks into a room with a bunch of cute puppies, and then it cuts to them in the van, going to the roadblock.
The
where
roadblock?
Sheriffs are, I guess.
The caretaker's waiting up for us. And it's really getting cold out here.
So that guy's the caretaker, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
Yeah,
you know
but-
about the dogs, don't
You know about the dogs.
Yeah, a whole bunch of them. There already have been 5 deaths in the area.
What?
5. At the other roadblocks, they only mentioned 2 deaths.
What?
How many roadblocks did they go through?
Damn dogs. Samples family.
Why are they letting people in here if there's
Yeah,
been
what?
5 dog
Right.
deaths?
We've blocked off the area, but anyone can just come through.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
go.
I was just
whatever.
gonna say, like,
Dogs know which bit
you know,
came
the
from
point of
where.
roadblocks are that people
Just like
have
last
the
time.
road blocked. That's not a roadblock. You can't call it a roadblock. I know the movie calls it a
It's a
roadblock, but
spooky
we can't
fog
acknowledge
machine.
it.
It's a checkpoint.
Yeah, because if it's a roadblock, they don't let them through. It bothers
like
me
a-
so much. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, this whole area, there's been
like
so
a,
many murders to these dogs. There's
Yeah.
5 people dead. We're blocking off all the roads. All right, go on through. Just make sure
Well,
that you have
it's-
guns. And it's like,
it's
wait,
not-
what?
It's like a
It's
DUI
worse.
checkpoint, but
Yeah.
instead of checking for drunk people, they're checking for werewolves.
Did you know there's been a lot of werewolf mutilations around here? Sure hope you don't get mutilated. Well, anyway, go on through. So,
Oh,
Yeah,
well.
right.
idiots. So the sheriff and the deputy are Patrick Rothfuss and Mac from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And which is not wrong. And
No.
and they stop them like, hey, there's been 5 people dead. And then one woman in the band, which is there with Alice Cooper, because that's apparently their band of teenagers. Not a band of teenagers, a literal musical band that's all teenagers with 40-year-old Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
So he tells them that, and one woman cuts into like, what? But the last roadblock said there were only 2.
Right. I'm
Wait,
curious
hold on.
what her threshold for how many people have to get murdered before she decides to call off the music video.
Yeah,
Like-
like what? Because
like,
the band's
It's gotta
not
be
in
higher
this
than
mansion.
5.
Yeah.
It's higher than 5.
It's
we know
definitely
Yeah,
higher
that.
than 5, yeah.
When the
It's higher
7th
than
person
5.
dies, we gotta
Well-
call this shit off.
It's all the same to me.
I'd rather not talk about
Does
it.
Uber go out here?
Yeah, right.
I'll
Uber-
walk.
All right.
Uber doesn't come out here since the last 6 deaths, but my last Uber driver said there were only 3. God damn it.
I just had to spit my coffee back into the cup very slowly. So as not to spew it everywhere.
How are you going to find the way to the house?
It's
Oh my
high. It's
God.
higher than 5. 2 police roadblocks. An old man covered in blood grabbing them in the woods. Seeing an actual monster dog
Like-
in the woods.
They didn't
Like,
need
it's higher
that
than all of
much,
that.
right? They could have just done one of those things. Just
Right.
one. They just piled them on.
Or they could have spaced these death omens out like through the movie to build the tension. But it never is that. It's like death omens, cut to dream sequence, cut to sandwiches, cut to dream sequence. It's madness.
Yeah, sandwiches directly into dream sequence was a thing.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So they go and sit down for these sandwiches, and they have some very obvious Pepsi cans and Pepsi related products in the background. And I just want to mention, they were so refreshing, right?
You ever just drink some refreshing Pepsi?
Yeah, you ever
Some
just have a
ice-cold
really
Pepsi
nice
products?
Pepsi? Yeah, the like a Fresca or a 7-Up. Oh man, there's some really good ones. I'm super thirsty for a Fresca myself. You should probably like crack one open if you have them. Okay, they're gonna give us the paycheck now, right? Like
If Pepsi sponsored Monster Dog, there's hope for you guys.
That's what I'm thinking.
that's
Like they
true.
sponsored this movie, right? They
That's
had to
true.
because
There was a lot of
Pepsi in this
gratuitous
movie.
shots of Pepsi.
I think
a
they
lot of
used
good
all that
Pepsi
Pepsi money just to send Alice Cooper to Italy so he could take a vacation for 3 weeks and then record this
Probably.
movie. Like, that's it. That's why that
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah,
but
probably.
okay, so after all the death omens, the group of teens and very old man Alice Cooper make it to the mansion, and the caretaker is gone. Oh no.
Yep.
So Alice Cooper wanders around the mansion with a gun that he found
Right.
in the mansion. And he's like, hey, I'm going to go make sure there's not a monster dog out here. While
Right.
all the rest of the teenagers just laugh and eat sandwiches. And then we get to that dream sequence you were talking about. So the dream sequence just cuts off randomly from sandwiches to woman in bed with 2 other women, both dead. She wakes up,
Right.
wanders through the house with that old man who met them in the foggy woods, saying you're all gonna die. He chases her into a room where her other 2 friends are dead, and then he says, oh, by the way, Vince is gonna kill you all. But it was all a dream. Because she's a psychic and she's clairvoyant, and this is an omen again? God damn
Yeah,
it.
It's the
like
third omen. Yes.
The third omen, yes. And
Alright.
at this point, we're like a half an hour into the film,
Yeah.
and we've signed up for Monster Dog. Like, we know what we're getting into. You don't have to
Yeah.
prep us with 3 omens of death right in a row.
That's okay,
No.
because they cut from that, after the dream, to Vince sitting in a chair reading about werewolves and the Wolfman from the Universal Pictures.
Right.
Like 1930s,
She goes,
40s.
what are you reading? And it just shows the book, and in the book, it's just there's no words. It's just a picture
A
of the
wolfman.
like 30 silent
Yeah.
Wolfman film.
What
And
they're
it's like,
not
wait,
saying
what?
is
He's
that-
not reading shit.
Alice Cooper can't read in this movie. It's just, he's looking at one just large picture of a wolf man.
Maybe that's why he shuts the book so quickly. He's just like, no,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm absolutely just you're reading. Yes, I was reading. Like I can. Reading is a thing I
Yeah.
do. Alice Cooper, me, yep, I can read.
You don't need to read if you can take an airplane to Australia and be there the next day and use your video
Oh
electronics
my god,
media
that scene!
to broadcast yourself to the world with your musical video.
You guys are gonna put that scene right here, right?
Listen, werewolves do exist.
Yeah, idiot.
Bullshit, Vince. The year 2000 is just around the corner.
Holy shit.
I am a recognized expert in electronic videos
Oh my god. Oh my god.
in the world.
Electronic.
They're making records, videos, movies on high-tech electronic equipment of
Uh-huh.
fantastic sophistication.
Uh-huh.
You can get on a plane tonight and be in Australia tomorrow.
Yep.
And you're scared of werewolves.
20 years ago, something
Look,
terrible.
I'm just saying werewolves
It's
exist,
happening
lady.
Entire families were wiped out by a pack of
Just
killers.
because you
Them-
can send a video to Australia doesn't mean something doesn't exist.
Oh, and by the way, when we're talking about this electronics expert in my musical videos,
Right.
by the way, Alice Cooper's dad was dragged out by an angry mob and murdered in the woods.
With pitchforks and gasoline.
Yeah, hey, you want to go sleep together? What?
And this is actually the scene. Oh, this is the scene. Hold up. So in the house, they showed this beforehand, where there is a painting of not Alice Cooper that's supposed to be Alice Cooper with like a wife and then like a kid, and he's supposed to be the kid in it, and it's like this dad. And then when they finish the scene, and she's like, "Oh, werewolves don't exist because digital video," she walks out and like she sees the weird werewolf dog thing in the weeds of the painting, and then she's like,
Oh my
werewolves
god.
are real.
Yeah, she's like, oh no,
sees the
werewolves do
painting.
exist.
I've been wrong the
Painting.
whole time.
Oh, it's so
Right.
good. Oh no, digital video disproves werewolves. Wait, but paintings prove they're real.
And then,
Yeah, but-
so she comes to this conclusion, and then she doesn't tell anyone about it.
No,
and they
nothing
shoot
happens.
the music video.
Yeah, it just cuts from that to them shooting the music video. It immediately hard cuts from that to the next day, where they're all pulling out camera gear
So-
and setting up for the music video.
One of the things that I'm realizing now in post is that like, so they were the crew for this music video, but when
Supposedly.
they're pulling up in this van, this like, you know, tricked out, everyone's high, like hot boxed van
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere. I never got the impression that they were like professionals and brought
No.
like gear with them or any of that. So when she talks about like her being a professional like electronics video person, I don't even what did she call herself? I can't even remember. But like
Yeah.
it like comes out of nowhere because you're just a high teenager. Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? And then they cut to the music video, and you're just like, by this point, you're just like, I don't know what's going on. Did Alice Cooper hire these people? Are they his friends? What is happening in this movie?
It makes it seem like they're his friends, but then at the same time, they're also doing all of this recording and stuff. And it's real disconcerting because they're at most like 21 and he's 40.
Yeah, and the other thing is too is like none of them are their own character. They are
No.
they are the crew, like quote unquote. They are one individual basically.
Yeah, they're the hive mind. Yep.
Yeah.
We are crew.
Yeah.
This movie also has a problem where they shoot a lot of shots where it's supposed to be night, and then they immediately go outside and it's daytime. And then sometimes it's
Yes.
night outside, but it's day inside, like you can see
Right,
through the
right.
windows. There's no consistency to the lighting or the time, but
Yeah.
they just like act like it is a lot. And
Yeah.
that's a very common mistake from a rookie filmmaker. So I think this is one of the earlier films of this director, although he did make a lot of really schlocky, awful Italian horror movies in the 80s before he eventually worked his way up to Troll 2. So maybe he fixed that. Did he fix that in Troll 2? I don't know.
I mean, I saw Troll 2 a long time ago, and I don't remember any of this kind of like day to night shifts
No.
at all in that. So I think he probably figured it out.
Yeah, it's pretty wild how much it does that though, where it's like super
Yeah,
dark inside and it's very
really
obviously
bad, yeah.
night, and then they go outside and it's middle of the day and you're like, whoa, wait, what? And then they keep cutting back and forth between them because like they get into a point later in the film where somebody runs outside and then they're like they've got like two different groups going on where one's outside chasing the one that's outside and then the other group's inside, and it keeps cutting back and forth between these two spots, and it is jarring to say the least.
Should we talk about that? Because they shoot the music video, and then this event happens at the end of the music video, where the caretaker, I think the caretaker, winds up
Yeah.
The
dead,
caretaker. Yes. The caretaker was dead the whole time and his body falls through the
window onto the
Yeah.
person starring in the music video. She's covered in blood and corpse, and Alice Cooper's like, I gotta find out what happened up there. Who wants to come with me? And after consoling her for like 10 seconds, they're like, oh, everybody's gonna come with me, and then they just abandon her down there with the corpse. And that's when she leaves the house.
She just fucking walks out.
Right.
She's just like obviously traumatized. Like this poor woman is just covered in blood. She's been pinned under this
you know
corpse.
what? If a corpse fell on me, I'd leave too. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like she just kind of wanders out into the desert and it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, she's pretty messed up right now, and nobody does anything about it. They're all just like, about a minute and a half later in the film, they're like, "Wait, where's
where the hell did she
I don't even remember
go?"
her name. I don't.
Yeah,
and
they're like,
where did she
wait.
go? And they're like, "Oh, I guess that she's probably still downstairs." And it's like, wow, you people are fucking the worst. Like,
And this is the point.
Friends.
This is the point where the movie just like cuts the wheel. This is the point where up to now it's been spooky cobwebs, a lot of fog, scary, low light situation, and then the banditos show up and they cut the phone line. They cut the phone line, and we were like, when it happened, it was like, who is cutting the phone line? Because they set up werewolves, So you're like, did the werewolves cut the phone line? And then the werewolf
Are they
also
vampires? But it's
controls the
daytime.
dog. Yeah, but it's like daytime, so it's very strange. And then the banditos show up, and then we just hard turn from horror to western.
Goddamn, like Bob Saget sweater vest. Like,
Yeah.
The
What the
line's
fuck
dead.
was that?
Yeah, right?
Getting
Somebody's working with the
like
wolves.
a nightmare, Mary Lou. Yeah, just like Angela's nightmare.
They weren't wolves though. They're just like house pets.
That's done.
Yeah,
Ed's finished
somebody's
his
working with
job.
that goddamn schnauzer.
What?
What?
They're like banditos.
Yeah,
They've got bandoliers and everything. That's amazing.
I'm writing down banditos cut the phone line.
That will pierce Vince.
Cause what the fuck? Yeah,
And
it's a western
They're
movie.
banditos. When we say banditos, we mean banditos.
Like,
they have like
yeah.
big mutton chops and like black like round
Bandoliers
sunglasses and
and- yeah.
bandoliers.
One of them's got a
and,
tooth that's blacked out.
Yeah, they've got like blacked out teeth and like sombreros.
It's like they walked
and
onto
shit.
the set
It's-
of the wrong movie.
Right.
And then
so
they just
good.
kept rolling.
It kind of feels like we're in the end scene of Blazing Saddles, where they're like smashing through the different like scenes of movies in the back lot. Like it's like that. Like this movie accidentally went into the back lot of a different film, and they're like, "Oh shit, keep rolling."
So Alice Cooper is trying to find that woman in the desert that is full of corpse, and the crew is back there dealing with the banditos. Alice
This
Cooper
sounds even worse than it was.
Alice Cooper is like separate from the banditos.
I disagree.
So then
it
it
sounds
becomes
exactly as bad as it was. But go
so then
ahead.
it becomes like the banditos roll up and they got guns, and then the crew is all armed to the teeth too, because there's like so many guns in the house and they got to protect it against werewolves and apparently banditos.
Yeah, apparently.
And now they're like the banditos roll up and they're like, "Hey, we're friends with Vince," and the crew is like, "This checks out. Let's invite them inside."
Hey, they seem nice. We should let them in. Yeah,
Right.
alright.
I love the moment too where they were like, "Oh, yeah, can you invite us in?" And I'm like, "Oh, please let them be vampires. Let this be like suddenly turn into a vampires versus werewolves film."
That would have been a great turn.
That would
It
have
would
been way
have been
better.
so good. It would have been way better. But like, yes, there's this weird thing where they're like, "Oh, we're here to ward off the dogs. Like, we're gonna fight all these evil dogs that everybody's talking about in the area." And they're like, "All right, we'll let them in." And they leave one guy outside, the guy with the bandoliers and stuff.
Look, if you're in a tense situation with somebody you might not trust, and then they leave one of their members outside to keep watch, you're not in a great situation.
No.
I'm just gonna spoil that for you right now.
Yeah, but it was. Well, there was a great
Well-
moment though where we actually thought the movie was going to be stupider than it was, and it was kind of amazing because they go
Yeah.
like, the guy's outside and they're like, his name was Ed. I actually remember that. They're like, "Ed, like, hey Ed, you stay outside." And then a second later they come out and they're like, "Hey, go do the thing," kind of thing. Take care of the van. And he's like, "Okay." Goes over and he like cocks his gun, like his big shotgun, to take out the tires of the van. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, he's gonna hit it with his shotgun? Boy, this is gonna be a real stealth mission. These kids are gonna know immediately. And they like, he fires his gun and shoots the tire, and it immediately smash cuts to the kids inside, all held at
Just getting-
gunpoint and being like,
Yeah.
cold
Ass
clocked by
whooped.
the
Yeah.
just getting their shit kicked in by these guys. And I'm like, okay, well, never mind. That was actually
Yeah.
really good. Like, it was real clever. It was hilarious. It was really well done.
The only thing it was missing was a scene where like because like it was one kid who was basically like, yeah, they should come inside. Like the rest of the kids should have been like tied up and looking at that kid like, fucking come on, dog. You know?
God damn it, Tom. Why is Tom
Right.
such a dumbass?
You idiot. Well, we had all those sandwiches to eat.
Who's gonna eat them? It's got cheese.
hey,
It's
would
gonna
you-
go bad.
God damn
Would
it.
you like to come in for a nice, refreshing Pepsi? Pepsi is very refreshing. You should try one. Or maybe a
Please,
Fresca.
Please sponsor
So
us.
at this point, the house is Bandito controlled in the werewolf movie.
Yes.
Yes.
Now we turn into a spaghetti western. We're literally a spaghetti western.
Yeah. So Alice Cooper comes back from the desert with the girl, right? He had
Yes.
the girl, right?
Yep.
Yep.
And then he's like, I'm gonna go deal with this, I guess. Like, I don't even know how this really unfolds.
So he's coming back with her. They try to go into the house and the door is locked. So they're like, oh shit, the monster dog might be out here. Let us in.
Oh, right.
And they
And
start
that
like
door
panic
scene.
knocking on the door. So they're panic knocking on the door, and then it's the classic spaghetti western scene of the evil banditos on the other side, tension mounting, guns aimed at the door.
That was actually a really good scene.
Yeah, and then Alice is like, oh, I'm gonna go check the other side. You stay here. It leaves the girl who keeps knocking on the door. They unlock it from the inside, so she opens
Alice
the
Cooper
door
looking
and then
out for
just
number
gets
one.
she gets gut shot immediately by one of the banditos.
I can't blame Alice Cooper for that one. Like, he doesn't know that there's people inside that would be
No.
shooting
Sure.
guns at them. Like, that's fair. But yeah, she gets gut shot immediately. And there's actually a really cool shot, and I wish that it had done what you were thinking at the time, where she kind of stumbles really slow motion through the group, and it has somebody close to the camera, and she goes past them, and like she's totally covered by this person. And you thought that in that shot they would transition her from being human to a werewolf and have it be kind of a twist where she was one of the werewolves. But they don't do that. Instead, she just kind of falls down dead at the end of it.
The reason I thought that was because they set up, like, the guy talks about how he's like, I got a silver bullet and I'm going to shoot a werewolf. He talks about that, like, 3 times to the kids, like, right in a row. So I'm like, they really want us to know that. So I'm waiting for, like, the other shoe to drop, basically. And it never does. It never does.
It never does. It never does.
What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna shoot this here silver bullet.
Oh my god. They're
Right,
werewolf
there's the
hunters.
heart.
There's the lore.
Why would anyone want to kill Vince?
This is actually awesome.
I think I understand. You are the same band that killed Vince's father.
The rival rock
Oh,
band.
Made a mistake
she
back
put it
then.
together.
No,
Battle of the Bands taken too far.
Battle of the Banditos.
You are just a bunch of stupid animals.
The silver bullet doesn't even matter at the end. There's
No, it
literally
never
no
comes
point.
up again.
They spend
It never
a
comes up.
lot of time talking about the silver bullet in that scene, and it never comes up again. The other thing that made me want that woman to turn into the werewolf was because there's no struggle yet. Like,
No.
there's
None
like
at all.
we got to get the banditos out of here, I guess. Like, they just showed up. But, like, there's no, in a werewolf movie, a good werewolf movie, it's either like man versus himself, or you don't know who the werewolf is, and it's kind of like The Thing, you know? Like, who's killing all these people? It could be one of us. It could be any one of us. But there's none of that here. And I was
No,
really
they-
hoping for, like, this twist of, like, they're all werewolves, or some of them are werewolves, and this was going to be, like, the moment where, like, the banditos have to team up with the teens in order to see themselves out of this crazy situation.
That would have been a good movie, like
Right.
what's that movie with the bar and all the vampires?
Dusk Till Dawn.
Yes, that would have been like a
Yeah,
Dusk Till
Dusk
Dawn
Till Dawn.
situation.
Right,
That's a
right.
perfect Dusk Till Dawn situation.
Right.
Yeah, no, they set it up for a cool movie in a way, but they never actually get there. One of the things too, like the banditos, it really bothers me. Okay, we're here to save everybody from the terror of the werewolf. Here, let us terrorize you. Like,
Right.
They just go around like murdering these teens because they can, I guess. Because they want to save them from the murdering of werewolf. Better save them all from the murdering werewolf. Let's murder them instead. Like, what?
Maybe the banditos are trying to kill the werewolf out of self-preservation more than good of humanity.
Maybe they're just trying to kill the werewolf to get the hand puppet out of the movie.
Yeah.
So I don't have to keep
Yeah, the
showing that
werewolf
fucking
is-
hand puppet.
God.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the puppet that they have. It's just all they have for the werewolf is just a Halloween mask, like latex head, and it's very obviously just like a hand in it moving it around.
I don't
Yeah.
even think it
It's real
articulates.
bad. No.
No.
It doesn't.
It doesn't at
No.
all. No, it's just solid.
It
It's
just kind of
solid,
shakes
like,
around.
latex.
It doesn't
Yeah.
look. I mean, it's probably like a pretty neat prop, but like, it doesn't work in motion.
No.
No. So, but anyway, after the Banditos show up, we have to have a shootout because Banditos and spaghetti western. So they go
Right.
to a western town, which is apparently also the rooftop
roof?
of the mansion.
Yeah.
And it's so obviously like a western town. Like it's hard to set up.
No,
how
it's a
much-
different set.
Yeah, it's hard to set up how much this looks like a western film. All of a sudden, like it's got like it's like adobe doorways with like pans hanging from things. Like it looks like a western.
It goes from blue cobwebs and fog to like
Yeah.
dusty old town in like a second.
Yes, and it's supposedly in the house. This
In
is
the house,
supposedly
yes.
in the house.
The thing that drove me crazy too is that they really set up like, oh, Alice Cooper is probably the werewolf. Like his dad was the werewolf or whatever. Like it's in his lineage. And so the whole time with the Banditos, I'm like, they're going to try to shoot him. He's going to wolf out and just like rip through these idiots, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
that
then
never
we're gonna get into
happens.
the movie. Yeah,
That would have been a
It's
good
just-
movie. Yeah.
It's just a Western.
He has a shootout with them all and kills
Yeah.
them all in like standard pratfall, like literally
Yep.
western. A
Yep.
guy fucking jumps through a window. A guy jumps
Right.
through a window.
Well, that's later. That's actually
That's
quite a bit
later, but there's like literal
But yeah.
western shots.
Yeah, no, because he does all these things where he takes like dolls and like opens like
Yeah,
a
he,
door
like,
and
lures
puts the
them
doll
over
there and they
and-
shoot
yeah.
shoot at
Yeah.
the doll and then he shoots them from behind kind of thing. So he does like a few
There
little
was-
tricks like that. Yep.
One really great shot where he shoots a guy in the brain, in the top of
Oh,
the
yeah,
head,
that was a
and
good
they
shot.
use a doll and the head explodes, like the top of the head
Yeah.
explodes. It looks amazing. It looks
It looks
terrible,
really good.
but it's amazing.
Yeah, it's terrible, but it's exactly what you want from this kind
Right,
of movie.
exactly,
Like it's
exactly.
exactly the prop. It's the right gore. It's everything. Like it's very obviously a cut and very obviously not that guy's head, but it's still good. It's still really good. Like it was a decent effect for a low budget film, and it was funny and gory and great. It was perfect. Perfect for a spaghetti western. And then suddenly we're back inside and it's dark and
Because we need to go back to the horror movie, right?
Let me
So-
be
go
clear.
back to the horror movie.
At this point, I didn't think a werewolf was gonna really show up again.
No.
Like I thought it was gonna be Banditos and we're done. But no, we go
Nope.
back to the horror movie.
No. We have two films to end here, Nick. We've
Yeah.
ended
Yeah.
the Bandito movie. Now we have to go back to the horror movie. There's one Bandito who's alive, and he's like holding them hostage kind of thing. And as that's happening downstairs, and Vince Raven, who's Alice Cooper, finishes his shootout upstairs on the old Western town set.
The
they
old
have on the
western
roof of
town
this.
roof. Yes.
Yeah. They have like them in the dark, and suddenly, bun dun dun, in comes like all these dogs running from outside where
And this
it's
is-
night.
We're an hour in, and this is the first time we actually get to see some dogs hanging out, other than the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, when the caretaker opens up the door and there's like all the dogs that are there, which has like the cutest giant German Shepherd. These are really well behaved dogs.
These are really
Yeah.
cute, well-behaved doggos.
Yeah.
They're
There's
good.
a couple of close-up shots of them where they're trying to make them look like they're snarling, and they're just all sitting there so
they're
happy
all
and
just
like
like, give me a,
Yeah.
give me
staring
a
like
pet,
with
give me
big
a
puppy
pet.
eyes. I always love that. You mentioned it during the filming,
Yeah.
that like that's the best part of these kinds of movies, like the horror movies. Just exactly with Play Dead. Play Dead, if you haven't seen it, when we talked about it, it has the cutest dog that we've seen in any of these movies. It's amazing. You can't make a dog look scary when it's an actual dog because dogs are cute. So it's just
Yep.
great
Yeah.
because they've got like all of these actual dogs and they can't make them all act, so they're all just sitting there like panting and looking cute and waiting for pets, and it's just there's nothing scary about it.
The dogs in this movie are either running from one room to another or sitting calmly. They are more well-behaved than my 7-month-old puppy.
So the reason that there are 20 dogs in the film is because supposedly the monster dog can control a pack of well-adjusted to people, very friendly dogs.
Yeah.
Of different breeds of whatever they had at the shelter.
Yeah, I feel like it was either like the cast members' own dogs or like what they found at a shelter or something.
Do the dogs ever... I wasn't keeping track. Do the dogs ever do a kill? Does the pack ever get
yes.
a kill?
They don't do a
They
kill.
kill Shaggy.
Oh, no.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Yeah, they maul
I
the
think he
crew
does
member.
die. I think he does
I
die.
forgot
He-
about that
He gets
guy.
mauled. I wasn't sure if he died. The other one also gets mauled.
During the
but then he
scene
fights
where the
through.
dogs finish off the last of the banditos, they also,
Yeah.
for some reason, attack the crew.
Also,
Just
yeah.
because. That's a practical effect.
He was still holding.
Why did he jump through a window? Because it's a western.
Because it's a western and he's on fire. Yeah.
Fred, fight them off!
This is do it, Fred. Fuck off. You do it.
Fred, why aren't you trying?
Because
The best
they're
part about
monster
that
dogs.
is when the dogs are attacking the kid, the girl is like,
Yeah, it's
fight
like-
back.
Yeah, come on, loser.
Yes!
Yeah.
She's like, Rob, jeez, I need to be
it's
able
like-
to shoot them. You have to fight them
Stop-
off, you
stop
idiot.
dying,
and he's
idiot.
like covered in blood and like all ripped to
Like,
shreds. And she's like, can
Karen.
you just fight back already? Jesus.
Karen, I am doing the best I can, alright? I am under an incredible amount of stress right now.
I mean, he's pinned by like 4 German shepherds that are all
Yeah.
shredding his clothing. He's like got guts like pulled out everywhere.
Oh,
and-
that's a
That
good
scene was actually pretty good. Yeah, like the
Yeah.
dogs actually looked scary and like they're like coming after him.
In that one, it did. Yeah, that one they actually they had a decent stunt there where like they've got a dummy or like a guy covered in enough armor or whatever, where they've got like the dogs kind of just
Yeah.
ripping off this sweater off of him. It looks pretty decent. Yeah.
This is also the scene where the second head of the monster dog appears and they push it through like a wall and
Oh,
they have it
yeah.
come through like a door and anywhere that doesn't show a body part of what this dog would be, basically. Because all they have is the head.
They have another because like one of the guys also goes to hold it off, and so he like runs up to it and like wraps his hand in a sweater,
jacket
like,
or something?
jacket
Yeah.
or something, and he like shoves it in its mouth so he can try and fight it. But that means that what they can do is they can have a tight shot of him with his hand wrapped up, holding this head and like pretending that he's fighting it. He's like just holding it by the jaw, and it's just like this solid piece of
I
latex.
think this
that
is
he's moving
also
around.
the second time we've seen the quote unquote werewolf, the head of this thing. So at this point, we're getting hip to the fact that like, oh, this thing is just a head. Like before we couldn't tell, now it's confirmed. They only had the head.
They only had the head. Yeah. Now it's very obvious that they didn't have more than that.
Which
for this
which
prop.
pays off later
Yeah.
at
Pays
the
off
end
so
of the
well.
movie.
Yes,
But
it
what,
really does.
So after all the banditos are dead, the 2 guys are dead, there's just the 2 girls of the crew and Alice Cooper left. And they're like, hey, we should get out of here. This is awful. This is
Yeah.
Yeah,
stupid.
what the fuck are we doing?
Let's fucking leave. so they
Yeah,
go to
they're
the
kind
car.
of blaming Alice Cooper for being the werewolf because they're like, you weren't here while that was happening. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, yeah, he was having a shootout on the roof with the van.
Yeah, he was
Right.
fucking doing a western, Karen.
Stuff. Like,
Fuck you,
yeah.
Karen.
come on.
I was doing my other music video that's a western. Jeez, didn't you know that? I thought you were my manager.
God
you
damn,
should know my
Karen.
schedule.
So anyways, they go to the car. Karen's all like bloodied up a little bit, I guess, from the monster dog head pushing through a wall, just so they could get a scene of the head pushing through a wall. And then they're like, all right, let's get out of here. Ah, shit, I left the keys in the car. They're gone.
But like, it's not.
Well, it's the
not their
Bandito's
car.
car.
It's not the van.
Yeah.
It's the station wagon the banditos rolled up in.
And they
So-
go, oh no, there's no keys in here. And it's like, well, why the fuck would they have left the keys in the ignition?
Right.
Like, who does that? Nobody does that. Of course you have to go back inside and get them, you
Oh
dumbass.
my god.
So Alice Cooper and one of the girls goes back
the manager
inside.
girl, yeah.
The manager
And the other girl is like, are you just gonna leave me here? And it's like, they're like, oh, you'll be safe in the car. And it's like, but what? Well, the stupid thing is like, go with them then. If you're that worried, like, then fucking go with them. Anyway.
So she's left in the car. They go through the pockets of all the banditos who are on the ground, still breathing in the scene. Like, definitely just sitting there, breathing quietly with their eyes closed. And then one of them gets up and grabs Alice Cooper. And Alice Cooper's like, go ahead! Help me out! Shoot me! Get me out of this film! I don't want to be here anymore! and she accidentally shoots the bandito. Oh, I think it was the bandito. No, it was the guy with the black tooth.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the blacked out tooth bandito. They all of those people look interchangeable. The bloodied old man in the woods, we were really confused for a while, where we thought that he was the caretaker. Because he looks almost exactly the same, and he's covered in all of this gore, so it's hard to see that he's a different person. He's about the same age, about the same body build, about like this, he's got like a mustache like him, and then they show the caretaker, and he looks like the main bandito with the blacked out tooth, because again, they still have the mustache, they're like the same height and build, like it's, they needed
everyone that
something
isn't
distinct.
Alice Cooper is basically an amalgam of a group
Yes.
in this movie.
Yes.
Yep. There's the banditos, the crew, the caretaker,
And then
who is
the
also
weird
the
old
old
men.
man. There's Patrick
Yeah.
Rothfuss and Mac from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
And then the cops. Yeah,
That's it.
there's five
That's it.
there's 5 characters and there's like 15 actors
Yeah.
playing them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they go back in, they go through the pockets. The bandito gets shot in the head by Girl. That's her character. And they go back to the car. They put the key in the ignition to like, oh, we're safe. Everything's finally gone. But what they didn't expect is that the monster dog was sitting in the back of the car the whole fucking time.
The whole time.
I was back here
amazing
waiting.
for them to sit. They sit in the car. There's clearly not another
so
woman
good.
in the car anymore.
No, no.
There's very, very clearly there's no one else in the car.
'Cause
They never
they
question
never
this at
show you-
all.
They never show you
never
the back
question.
seat or anything.
Yeah.
They go
No.
specifically out of their way to be like, we're only showing the front seat, so you
Well,
know
and, like,
something's up.
But the characters too, though, like the characters are just like, oh well, they just jump in and like neither of them like look for
Right.
her, acknowledge her, like they
No,
don't
they're
care
just
that
like,
she's
"All right,
gone.
let's go."
They just take off, and then as they're driving, they're 30 seconds away from the house. And the one girl goes like, oh, Marilyn, you must have, I think it was Marilyn. She's like, you must have fallen asleep already, right? And it's like, who the fuck would
No.
fall asleep?
Yeah,
like,
right.
no,
Right.
no. Like, oh, we just escaped this life and death house 30 seconds ago. You probably are sleeping, right? That's
There's,
why
like,
you're quiet.
The best cut of the movie where
it's
the
so
head
good.
of this girl just flops out onto the top of their seats, and it's just panic in the car as they realize that this sock puppet head of this werewolf has been in the backseat the whole time. And
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
locked in this car with this werewolf.
Wait, okay, so he has like a tiny wound in his head. She had a double-barrel shotgun to his forehead, right? Like, I just
Yeah.
All right.
I want to verify that. Okay, I'm not doing that.
Doggo in the back seat.
Yeah, there's definitely a dog
Yeah,
in the
they
back
totally
seat.
did not.
Because she's not there.
Back
They didn't
at
even
all.
look.
Yeah.
I love how little they give a shit about their friend.
Yeah,
They're
this
just
is-
like, oh, she's not there? Fuck it.
The nightmare's finally over.
What do you say?
Oh my god, it's so dumb.
This is gonna be the Nightmare on Elm Street moment.
Yeah. I can't believe we got it. Ah! 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 Ah!
Yeah.
You haven't fallen asleep. Yeah, 'cause she hasn't fallen asleep in, like, you haven't fallen asleep, have you? Now that we've driven 3 minutes away from his death trap.
I fucking love that! Oh god! Oh god!
Jump.
That's so good! It bites Alice Cooper on the shoulder and he starts, moving everywhere with the car. The other girl falls
Yeah.
out because the door opened somehow.
Well,
Did
she said no.
open
They
it?
say jump. They said jump.
She
He tells her to
jumped?
jump
Okay.
out. Yeah, he
Okay.
tells her jump out of the car, jump, and then she jumps out of the car.
Which,
That was actually
like,
set up.
I guess the twist of the movie was Alice Cooper wasn't the
No.
werewolf the whole time.
Because he
But, like,
turns into one after he gets bit.
But like, there's a scene where he's like surrounded by dogs who are being subservient to him, and that is just never explained.
No, the whole thing is just really muddy.
Yeah,
just almost like the set where they couldn't get a set, so they just used the fog machine in the woods.
God, yeah, that's a lot of this movie. A lot of this movie is just
classic
them
motif.
wandering through the woods.
So after the car accident, they're in a fog machine in the woods, wandering around again.
Yep.
And girl ends up finding Alice Cooper, who was bit. He's like, "Get away from me! I'm transforming!" And then the monster dog puppet pops out, and the old man pops out, and fucking I don't know, just everything's happening. So the old man dies. He's like, aha, Alice Cooper's gonna be the new dog, or something.
He's now tainted like I was. Yeah.
But like, he isn't turned. He's just the old man. Even though it's night and he was the werewolf in the car, I guess, and now
it's the
he's
full
not.
Moon. Yeah, now he's not the werewolf. And he'd been stabbed earlier.
To be fair, a cloud probably went over the moon. We don't know how this works.
We could have used a cut there. We could have used just a little 1 second explanation.
Well, the other thing what's obnoxious as hell, too, is they set this up as a big twist that the guy it was actually the old man at the beginning of the film.
Right.
Who was like, don't go, like, but the thing is that his whole thing is he goes, if you go to, you've killed a dog on this road.
You're gonna die now.
He will come, and he specifically says, now he will come and kill all of you. Him, the singer of your rock band, is the bad one. He's the werewolf, and he will kill you all. He was the werewolf the whole time. What the fuck is he doing?
Right.
Like, why is this a twist?
Cam,
it's so
Cam,
stupid.
Isn't that exactly what a werewolf would say to
Is that what
teens?
a werewolf would say to teens?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Why would he show up at all then? Why would he even show up?
This whole
God,
film was just an
stupid.
Ashton Kutcher punked episode. That's a reference.
It's oh my god. So Alice Cooper's bit. He's out there in the woods with the girl. The old man is dead, even though he was not shot by the silver bullet. Is completely abandoned. So he starts to turn, but
werewolves die. Okay, listen. To be fair, they say that werewolves can only be killed by a silver bullet, but that's because back in the day they didn't have cars. He got killed in a car accident.
Right,
you can't say that that's not part of werewolf lore. Where apparently werewolves have silver bullets and car accidents.
The one consistent thing in these dog movies is that the dog always has to die by getting hit by a car. So,
oh man,
yeah, there we go. Exactly. We know that dogs get killed by cars, so it's perfect.
Are you guys running a counter as to how many dogs you've seen hit by cars with this?
It's at least 70% of the films.
Be like,
it's high.
Yeah, it's gotta be like 6 or 7 films have had a dog hit by a car.
This is the woman in the freezer motif for dog movies.
No, same way that they fridge women, they also they car dogs. That's what they do in kids films.
Dogs.
They car dogs. Yeah. So it's like the freezer and the woman trope. Yeah.
The masks they use for the quote unquote transformation sequence are really bad. God. They are all...
So it looks like, you know, in Total Recall where Schwarzenegger starts being exposed to deep space and he starts to like get all bloated, his like face gets all like weird and bloated. It kind of looks like that. That's the transformation. Like we never get like the werewolf teeth coming in. He never gets like hair. Super hairy. Like
he gets less hairy.
He gets more bald, really.
Yeah.
And then suddenly he's the puppet that has been in this movie the whole time. They never even get a second puppet. They never get an Alice Cooper puppet.
No.
Okay, I have a question though. Have we considered that they didn't use a mask and instead they just removed the makeup from Alice Cooper?
Just took off Alice Cooper's makeup.
It's too real.
I mean, it could be right. And then the movie just ends on another music video, which is the first music video, but with random clips from the movie so they could put it on television.
She shoots him at the end, right?
Yes. She kills him, I guess.
Yeah,
I can't remember because, like, she wanders around in the woods, and then she finds him, and he's turning, and then she wanders around in the woods, and I never remember the gunshot.
Like, she just walks off. That's all that happens. Like, she shoots him, and then she just walks towards the camera.
I really feel like this movie would benefit from just cut the entire Western out, and then just cut all of the scenes of people wandering around in the fog, turn this whole movie into like a tight 15 minutes, and we're good to go.
Yeah. And then just leaving the whole scene in the car where Alice Cooper gets bit by a puppet.
Yeah, because that scene was excellent.
Yeah.
I would like to counter with what we should do is I agree with all of what you're saying, cut it down to that tight 15 minutes, film that, then take that film and burn it, because fuck this. Because no, it's still not usable. Fuck you. You can't tell me that would be
okay.
good
I'm
film
gonna make my edit, and I'm gonna post it on YouTube, and then we're gonna air this podcast, and we're gonna see how many people like what the views are. We're gonna contrast and compare next October.
Are you sure?
Monster Dog 2.
The squeakquel.
The squeakquel. Yeah.
Monster Dog director's cut.
I just signed myself up for a lot of work that I do not have time for.
And you're not
really did. I don't know why you did that. That's a real big mistake you did, my friend. I want to say one last thing about this movie. The reason why there was something that I wanted to point out here that really bothered me. So like the reason why this doesn't work as like a horror, because there's a thing where the wandering in the woods, in some movies that's done and it adds tension, right? You want that slow build-up. You want somebody wandering through the woods and nothing happening, because you've got to wonder, oh man, when is it going to happen? That's the tension you have. And this movie does that. It has the people wandering through the woods, but it's boring. And why? And
because there's nothing chasing them.
Exactly. I was going to say, the reason is that they never point out the stakes. Like, it always feels muddled. There's no clear set out of, like, a time that they have to leave this area, or that they're trapped there, or, like, there's never a thing that happens that says, like, oh, we have 24 hours to leave, or, like, our car broke down and now we're stuck here. Like,
we just have to survive the full moon.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, there's never any kind of establishment of any stakes as to what's happening. So you're sitting there the whole time going, like, I guess something's going to happen, but you don't know what is going to happen. And so it's just like, well, I mean, are the banditos going to show up and shoot people? Is there going to be some dog?
The banditos were like really the driving force of this movie, which is very strange.
It's exactly like, that's what's weird, is there's no, so like, because you never know, because it's talking about like, oh, the dogs are mauling people, but then sometimes the dogs show up and they don't maul people and they just like sit at Alice Cooper's feet, and then like, oh, well, maybe it's a monster dog, but the monster dog shows up, but then it doesn't hurt anybody, like they just kind of see it in the woods. And so like, there's never an idea of what's going to happen, any kind of stakes, and so it just ends up being muddled and confused. And if there was some kind of establishment of like you said, we have to survive the full moon, and it like mauled the caretaker, and you see that right away rather than 40 minutes into the fucking film. If you actually saw the caretaker like dead at the beginning where he was like mauled up, and they're like, oh my god, like it looks like dogs mauled him, get guns, like let's board up the house and stuff. But the characters aren't scared.
Every horror movie needs well-established rules. Otherwise, it cannot work.
Exactly, and it doesn't have that. Spooky Buddies had that. Spooky Buddies did a better job of establishing the world.
Yes, it did.
It did.
Wow.
It did. Yeah. Like, but that's it needs like an establishment of like, how do werewolves die? What are the rules around the werewolf? And also like, what are the stakes? How long can we last? Like, what is it trying to do? And you need the characters to act like they have some kind of stake in it. The thing was, they got like 2 death omens. 2 different people were like, oh, don't go to the cabin, it's gonna kill you. And then they see the werewolf and they kill a dog, and then they sit down and have snacks and just kind of like, oh, just chat. There's never an idea that they're actually scared of anything.
Come to think of it, the only rule they established was the silver bullet, and she shot Alice Cooper with the shotgun. Yep. I think they left it open for a sequel.
Yeah, they did.
Monster Dog 2.
All right, so that's Monster Dog. As is tradition, we need to rate the dogs. There were like 20 of them, and they showed up for a total of about 4 minutes. Okay. And they were extremely adorable.
Wait, whoa. Yeah. Rate or rank?
I don't know if we can rank the dogs, but that Labradoodle was adorable.
Yeah. I was going to say Labradoodle, Schnauzer at the top, German Shepherds at medium, and then all the other dogs in shadow at the bottom.
Yeah, I don't remember most of the other dogs, to be honest.
I'm going to have to go with a little bit of a different ranking here. I think that the best dog on the podcast so far has been the dog that's in Nick's audio, obviously, this whole time.
Yeah.
Shaking a toy and shaking his head and getting pets, because I can hear him being petted on the collar, and I just keep wanting to be like, oh, that's a good boy.
Look,
so that's probably the best
needy.
dog on the podcast.
She's needy.
We're not gonna rate the movie. Should we rate the music videos?
I'm fucking out. No. We're done. Podcast over.
We're very sophisticated electronics experts.
Oh yes, we're very sophisticated, and much like our guest today, who was Nick Phil. You can find him on Twitter. He's at Nick Phil. So thank you very much for having Nick on. Nick is a colorist for a bunch of comics. He does a ton of different things. I know that he was on Cave Carson has a cybernetic guy, and just a ton of different stuff. So you can check out all of his stuff on Twitter at Nick Phil. And a big shout out to all the people this week who helped us out by shouting out the podcast. It does mean a lot. We just got past, as we mentioned last time, a little over 500 downloads, and that's a huge milestone for us. We're really happy that we kind of have like a little bit of a dedicated fan base here, and we don't advertise anywhere, so the people that are shouting us out on social media means a lot. So I just wanted to say thank you to like Neck Spike, the Grigor, Nissia, Miss Mischief, Zozagoon, Baron Ninja, Serious Inkman, Nadu Akash, everybody on Twitter that's been retweeting us and liking our stuff and sharing it out to friends. It does mean a lot. If you can drop us a review on iTunes or things like that, it does make a big difference. If you rip it off of the website, put it onto a CD, and then transfer that over to a cassette and carry it around in your Walkman to show to people. That's also cool. It's weird, but it's cool. That's a Boix level move if you want to do it.
That's just a typical, Saturday in Seattle.
That's the Seattle move. Yeah, I know.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next time on Rough Cuts.
All right, thanks everybody. Bye. Yes.
God, why is
It's still going.
Right, why is the movie not over now?
I don't know.
All the werewolves have been shot.
How does a movie that's an hour and 20 minutes long feel...
Finally, rock song playing. Hey, we need to use that music again.
This movie is an hour and 20 minutes long and it feels twice that.
Yeah.